It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 7, Episode 7. I am here with Chris Natalini.
Mick Michaels, what's happening?
Not much, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, my friend. How are you?
Good, good, good. I love it when you're wonderful. That means it's going to be a good show.
I hope so.
This is Season 7, Episode 7. Rolling the double sevens, baby. It's only good things from here.
That's it, man. That is it. That's it, man. We're just rolling along. Season 7, Episode 7. It's awesome. Double sevens.
Double sevens, baby. Double sevens.
Baby.
We got a lot of good stuff coming up this season. A lot of good stuff just in this show. A lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of hot air. Some people say, like you and I, we could probably get into the helium balloon business with what we got going on behind these mics.
Absolutely, man. And at the time of recording this, we are gearing up for the holiday season.
Well, listen, in my house, and I know by the time this
for
airs,
your house, you're already...
Hallmark started in early October, baby. That's all I've been watching.
How is the new year of Hallmark, since we haven't really talked about it this season so far?
Right now, we're in the pre-countdown to Christmas type of setup. But every weekend, there's 3 brand new movies. Apparently now they have a Hallmark Plus, streaming service where you could pay extra and get additional holiday content and movies.
God,
oh yeah, it's
seriously?
crazy. Well, yeah, because I guess they're going to move into doing specific streaming shows, reality shows, so utilize their roster of stars, which there's a lot of them, in a lot of different capacities. Listen, I would love that gig. Love that gig. I don't care what anybody... They can say whatever they want. That's got to be the ultimate gig. You play your cards right, you're doing radio, because, on Sirius XM, they have a Hallmark channel. And those people are on constantly. You're saturating. To me, that's what an artist wants, right? And in reality, any artist that knows the business, high, the lows, the middle, whatever, it doesn't matter. It really is. It's just 15 minutes. So you take it when you can. I never understood, maybe I never understood it because I've never been in that situation, of course. But I never understood stars that wind up hating what it was that made them. I understand that maybe they get trapped and it's more than what they maybe thought it would be or sign on. But like David Duchovny, he didn't want to do X-Files anymore. He didn't want to be known for it. Okay, and I know he went off and he did Californication. That was kind of popular and all. But what's he do years later when he can't get anything? He goes back to limited series of X-Files. They got another one coming out in 2025.
It's so funny because you started that conversation. I legit was about to say the same thing. That's why I've always admired a lot of these men and women. Not many of them are on anymore, but like the soap operas that our grandparents and our parents used to watch. They would ride that until they died, went down in flames. I never understood these guys and ladies that want to be an actor, want to be an actress, and they get this gig and they go, I can't do this anymore. I need to do other things. What? Are you kidding me? Listen, if my band got hired to do a gig in Vegas once or twice a weekend, I'm in. Because that's all I ever want to do is play live. I don't understand, being an actor or being an actress. That's all you've wanted. It's all you've trained for. It's all you've ever wanted to do. And you get this gig and you are legit making a living off of being on television. So if I was an actor and I was tied up with Hallmark, who cares? I'll be the biker guy in the little snowy towns, causing ruckus, because that's what I look like. I'm totally okay with that. They'll be, oh yeah, I remember him from the last movie. I don't care. I'm in, bro. I am in.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, I've seen the same guy play a mayor in 7 different things. That guy's a mayor. There's the chief of police. That's
And
the
that's
congresswoman.
okay.
And that's okay. I get it. I do think, because I am mental half the time, I have thought about this. And what I've come to terms with, and for myself, make myself feel better, like I'm some psychiatrist. And like I said at the beginning of the show, there's a lot of hot air behind these mics. We could start a balloon business. My point is, I think back in the day, when television was still new, even by the 80s, it was only out for like 30 years. So you didn't get the crossovers. TV people necessarily always didn't do movies and vice versa, right? Now you have everybody doing everything. Streaming, and they do movies, and some of the biggest stars of the 80s and 90s are now doing television series or streaming series or whatever you want to call them today. Anyway, my point is everybody was afraid of getting typecast. Does that still happen? Yes, to some degree. But I think it's not as bad as it once was, and guys will hold on to roles a little longer. Case in point, look at Kelsey Grammer. That guy, in a row, played the same character for 20 years, 2 different shows. And what happens? Years later, he comes back again to play him on the streaming service, and it's a top-rated show.
Yeah.
He never once did he complain about it. He married a young wife. He wrote some books. He did voiceovers. He was an X-Men. His career did pretty good. Patrick Stewart, who played Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek Next Generation, he hated it in the beginning. Because he felt that he was way above that. He was a Shakespearean actor, and he had all this, he came to love it. It's what really made him become everything else that he wanted to become. And then he realized, franchises are a way to go. So I'll go from here to X-Men.
Right, man. Listen, that's why I have mutual respect for the lovely and gorgeous, what's her name? Mariska Hargitay or whatever? Hargitay? I guess from SVU.
Oh, yeah.
She's been on that show since 1999. It is 2024, and she's still going.
That's right.
Her and Ice-T.
That's right. Listen. Oh, well, listen. In my opinion, Ice-T's not dumb. He knows the deal. This was a once-in-a-lifetime shot for him. He don't have to tour no more. He made so much money. He's no longer like an evil-type looking guy. He's a guy that comes into your TV. He's solving crimes, beating bad guys up. That's the best thing anybody... come on. Look, nowadays, Snoop Dogg he's hosting the Olympics. You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? TV will soften your image like that.
Like that, man. And if you become likable,
that's right.
You're in. Listen, Ice-T back in the day, was one of the most hated people ever because of that song, because of his metal band and that song.
Sure.
And now he is loved by millions. Loved by millions. And God bless him, man. God bless him.
I think it's great.
Good for him.
Yeah. And again, you stick with the show. And those shows, they went through a cast of characters constantly. Those actors changed all the time, man. But here you hold on to something, you make it work. I don't know. Again, like I said, I've never been in that situation, but maybe I look at it differently because of not having such a situation and saying, man, I don't understand what I could do with that vehicle and still do this other thing? Are you kidding me? And nowadays, a television show is nowhere what it used to be. There are less shows.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you just kind of CGI me in over there?
It's Russ the Boss.
Take it down.
Johnny D from Britney Fox.
Stephen Pearcy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
Listen, let me ask you a question. I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast before. Maybe we did. In those Hallmark movies, is there ever a bummer of an ending where you go, oh, well, that just stinks?
No.
Or is it always...
No, it's always... Actually, and this year, my wife even pointed out, she goes, what, everyone ending with these two kissing? And it's always an anticlimactic kind of, in my opinion, kind of ending. It's real quick. Like, you know what?
Are you sure you're just not used to watching?
I don't know, maybe. But the thing is like, I'm thinking, like, what does the guys go? All right, you know what? We hit all the points, and now we don't know really. Let's wrap this up in like 4 or 5 seconds.
These shows aren't the Sixth Sense, Mick. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a surprise ending. It's going to end the same.
Yeah, I know. I know,
but no bummers, right? They always end on a
really
they
always end on
right?
a high note. Yeah, I mean that's what it's set up for. But they do have. I don't watch them though. I have to admit that this year, prior to the holiday setup, I was watching some of their fall programming. And I literally said, oh my God, this is just like everything else, just with, we're talking about the fall, and there was some Halloween stuff, but it was really the same thing. However, I will say this. There are certain stories that I go, this was just a story, and they just backdropped it with Christmas, because it has nothing really to do with Christmas. And I'm sure, because again, think about it, for October, November, December, you got 3 months, you got to do 3 new movies every week. You're taking some scripts that may not be necessarily Christmas. You just change the title.
Listen, even the original Disney animated movies reuse same scenery and same scenes and just penciled in a new character. I mean,
oh, sure.
It's just what you do.
Right. I'm going to start doing that with my albums. I'm just going to start penciling in a new album title, and I don't even think people will notice a difference that they're the same songs. I thought I heard something like this before. Nah, I guess not. It's a different album, different artwork.
Well, I'm glad you're getting your Hallmark film, bro. So how many channels are there at this point now?
Well, they have I can't believe we're talking about this. They have the regular. Are we really trying to fill that much time? Our topic must be really bad tonight. They have the regular Hallmark station. Then they have Hallmark Mysteries and something. I don't really watch that one too often.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now they have the Hallmark Plus streaming thing. There's some kind of package deal that I seen. They're actually advertising it on Facebook, but I didn't really pay attention to it. Like, I'm not buying anything else. I already get it enough. And, cable prices these days can, whatever. I could probably buy a sports car for what I'm paying in cable at this point. And then they have their music streaming station, and
right.
They have their card stores, their gift shops, their ornaments, their wine distribution, especially around this time. And there's some other things that I started to see that they're getting involved in. But then remember, Hallmark, there's always been a Hallmark. Your parents and grandparents, my grandparents and parents, everybody ran to a Hallmark store. Hallmark, to send the very best.
100%, bro.
Right?
100%.
So
100%.
Why not take that and put it on TV, baby?
I agree, dude. I agree, man. There's nothing wrong with having happy endings, right? I mean, listen, we watch TV to be entertained. We watch TV to get away from our problems in our real life. And if Hallmark is that thing that kind of takes you out of it for 2 hours or 90 minutes, whatever, and ends on a good note, then rock on, man. I'm all about it. I'm all about some good, holiday spirit movies ending in a kiss.
Absolutely. Listen, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, when you and I were kids and we would watch the holiday stuff, how many holiday ones did you find out that, Santa was shot and he was done and you ain't getting your presents? Well, man, that's kind of a bummer, ain't it?
Right.
Doesn't make you want to go out and buy your kid the next G.I. Joe, does it? So, I mean, it's the same thing, right? I mean, so there's nothing. So, and in this particular case, the station is built around, the sentiment is uplifting, wholesome content, right? And it's cookie cutter. But that's just the way it is. I mean, so they have horror streaming channels and stuff like that.
Yeah,
well, you know what you're getting into. You're getting into The Lift and Toolbox Murders and The Dolphin Choked Me at Night, whatever the hell it's called. You know what I mean? So that's your stuff. You're usually leaving.
That is my
You're
stuff.
usually leaving very melancholy and a pain in your stomach.
Yes.
And you only have 3 minutes to get to the hospital. So come on. You know what I mean? We choose our feelings.
Yes, of course.
There you have it.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, there's another 15 minutes we just blew on some other stuff. I'm telling you, a helium balloon business may work for us. All right, let's get to the topic of the show. The topic tonight is being original and local in 2025. We're not even there yet, but maybe when this airs, I don't know. Being original and local in 2025. Here's a novel idea. This may even be original. Get a job. Pick a different career. Become a doctor, lawyer, or undertaker. That's what my grandfather used to tell me all the time. Don't do what I'm doing. Be a doctor, a lawyer, or an undertaker. I'm like, undertaker? You want me to be a wrestler?
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Actually, I did have hopes to be a wrestler someday until I actually got into the real world and I was reminded quite often about how short I was. So, but you know what?
Yeah, but you know what? Times are different now, bro, because the smaller guys are, the way to go. There's so many guys that, aren't as...
listen, those smaller guys are still 5'10". So stop.
Just saying, man.
Yeah, just saying. I know, man. I know a couple local venues that do, and I'm not even sure we're allowed to use that term anymore, but smaller people wrestling. I may dominate that. That I may dominate.
You may be the
King of the Ring, baby. King of the Ring.
That's amazing.
So what do you think, man? What do we got to do to stay original or be original and to be local? I mean, I'm not even sure. Can that be in the same sentence? Being original and be local in the same sentence? I don't know.
Can we just do a show of Hallmark movies?
Yeah, it's easier to talk about, isn't it?
It is easier to talk about. Here's the thing, we've talked about it before. There's always been cover bands, and now in 2024, looking into 2025, tribute bands or glorified cover bands are now a thing. Especially now, hard rock and heavy metal tribute bands / cover bands are huge right now, especially. A lot of them are touring now, playing huge places, playing huge festivals. And at the time of recording this, Zakk Wylde just announced that Zach Sabbath is going on tour. And there's a lot of dates. He's got a pretty full schedule, a month or two, I think. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, Mick, I was thinking about it today when we talked about, recording it, this segment for the show. I don't know what it takes. I do know that for me, at least in my opinion, being a guy in my 50s who still believes in the thrash metal scene, who is currently fronting a thrash metal band, I just do what I enjoy doing. I like what I do. It is a struggle. Being a local original musician nowadays is hard. Sometimes really, really hard, because we are competing with a lot of things, and a lot of those things you and I have talked about on this show ad nauseum. But, man, I just do what I like to do. I enjoy the kind of music. And honestly, when I look at bigger bands doing the same kind of music that are still doing it just as well as they did back in the 80s, it kind of gives me a little hope to just keep moving forward. I know I'll never be as big as those guys, but I go, if they can do it and they're older than me, then I can still do it. So for me, being local, being original in 2025, what keeps me going is just the love of doing the kind of genre and the kind of music that I do. And, you just got to fight your way through, man, and just find those little moments in time. Because, there's just this, life sometimes is really just moments of time, right? Like, we all go about our day, we all work, we all go home, we eat dinner, we, go to our jobs and go to bed and wake up, do it all again. So when you have those moments of time where you're doing what you love to do and you find those killer moments of it, that just keeps me going for the next time. Again, that's something else we've talked about on the show. What does it take? I don't know what it takes, man. Just the will and the fight to just keep on doing it no matter what. And no matter who tells you it doesn't work, who tells you that your type of music isn't hot as it used to be or isn't anymore. I just kind of knock out all the noise and just put my head down and just keep moving forward, man. Finding those people that appreciate the kind of music that I do. And because they're always out there, especially metalheads, like you and I, will always find those people. Sometimes you just have to dig through the dirt a little bit, but we'll always find them because they're always out there. Because listen, not for nothing, it's true, man. Once a metalhead, always a metalhead. Whether it's the kind of music you do, whether it's the kind of music I do. I just feel that metal is the only genre, in my opinion, that people don't grow out of. Everybody, I feel like, grows out of the kind of music. Eventually Taylor Swift, her crowd's going to move on. They're going to get older. Not all of them, of course. She's going to always be something. But even Garth Brooks, all his crowd back then when he was hot, they all grew up. They'll go see his shows when he's playing Vegas, or a couple weeks ago, I went to see Grand Funk Railroad and I had the pleasure of seeing them, and they were great. It was filled with people that were older than me. I don't know if they would pay to see Grand Funk Railroad on tour, but when it comes to metalheads, and I could see classic metal bands for back in the day, still pulling in people, still doing great numbers, still putting out quality material, man. at the time of recording this, two of my, and I'm not going to get deep in the woods, but two of my favorite thrash bands just released brand new material, and it's as good as the stuff was back in '83 when they first came out. So, to me, I go, okay, I feel like I'm doing something right, because those bands and of that age, and them guys are probably even a little older than me, still putting out quality material. I just keep moving forward, bro. Just block out all the noise and keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Being original and being local, it depends on what you're kind of looking at. So if we're talking like the music, you're being original in your music. That means you're writing your own stuff. You're not doing covers. Or covers aren't necessarily the mainstay of your set. Do you throw them in every so often? Well, yeah, there's a lot of bands that do that. They've embraced covers and they make them their own, and they, whatever, or they use them as an advancement of their set to really grab a crowd or to take back a crowd. Sometimes they do that. Oh, okay, let me pay attention again to the other song. But then there's the other aspect of it, like in terms of like the promotion and the marketing and how the band is presented. Like, is there an originality to that as well? Well, that's not as easy to do. We all write original music, right? That's kind of like the give me of this podcast, for the most part. Because I don't know how to sell a cover band or a tribute band, because I never had to. I don't really have any experience in that.
Right.
But I have seen enough of it that it's never about, I shouldn't say it's not about the music, because it is, but that's already part of the promotional and marketing piece, because it's music that people already know. So it's an easy sell. You don't even have to sell the music. You just sell, I do covers of Motley Crue, of Judas Priest, of Ozzy, so on and so forth down the line. In some cases, it may not even matter what songs you're doing. I mean, I've played with some bands that I had no idea that they were doing covers, because I was so unfamiliar with them.
Right,
and then other bands that have done deep cuts of acts that, like, unless you were really into them, the average person probably wouldn't know. And then, of course, there's bands that do all the highlights, right? Like the hair metal party channel, where it's always the top 10, right? That kind of thing. Hey, listen, that makes sense too, because you're playing to a certain crowd. You're playing to, this is what that venue wants. They want a guarantee. Well, that's how you get a guarantee. So being original in that sense, well, that's the hard part. We can write music, whether the music is good or not, whether it's entertaining, whether it draws a crowd. Like we talked about in one of the other episodes this season, a lot of that's subjective, right? Because what you like, I may not like, and vice versa. And then there may be stuff that neither of us like, but somebody else likes. Right. There's a bottom for every seat, somebody once said. But the originality of how we approach doing what we're doing, I think that is the key point. Now, I'm not saying that we should sacrifice writing good music. As an artist, I would hope that for most people, and this is not the case for everybody, because I've met people that they don't care what they're playing as long as they're playing. So they'll go either way. They're told what to play. They're given what to play. I get that. And there's a freedom in that. There's a stress-free environment that comes along with that. But how you present the band, I think, is the harder of the originality that we're trying to come across. And that's where, especially being local, because that's where it has to start for everybody to some degree, is where we really need to put some extra time, especially now that you're fighting not just with the local scene, you're fighting with the world internet scene, streaming scenes, and a lack of attention and a lack of maybe care on a lot of people's part. Like, because there is a growing number of critics and fans or listeners, whatever you want to call them, the audience, that are saying that music doesn't have the same relevance that it once did. Is that true or not? I don't really know. I guess it depends on your lifestyle. What did music mean to you 20, 30, 40 years ago? And does it mean the same now? Or are you just kind of comparing it to, well, the music today has no meaning to me? Well, you know what? There's probably some truth in that. Because we talked about it before, most people gravitate to the music that they're going to stick with the rest of their life by 20. That means those songs pre-20 really mean something to you for whatever reason. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally. They bring back certain memories, certain feelings, certain smells, thoughts, whatever. They transport you to a certain place in time that creates all this nostalgia that you can't separate from. And that's why we go back to it, because there's a level of comfort. And then people go, well, the music today isn't doing that. Well, there is some truth in that, but it's doing it for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, the originality of that music, well, again, that's subjective. But how do we do it? Like Chris said earlier, there's no hard and fast rule to it, and there's no true model. I mean, we can all take models that someone else did, but what we have to consider, because I've done it myself. Oh, I want to model myself after what Judas Priest did or what Kiss did, any of my favorite artists and bands. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good starting point. But what we often forget is that there was a certain lineup of events that brought them to that point that we'll never get to experience because that's unique to them. And whatever's happening to us is unique as well. What I think would help, and this is what I've come to learn, especially in the last 15 years, is to become aware of those unique experiences. And what we do from that point, jumping forward from that unique experience, can mean a lot, can make a huge difference. Big, medium, it doesn't matter, but certain things can then line up. And you'd be surprised, because times change. Chris and I just had a little experience between the two of us. He sent me some information about something, very grateful about it. I said, I'll give it a shot. Chances are it isn't going to happen, because the last I spoke to this particular person, they wanted nothing to do with working with us. Well, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I stuck to it. I respected their decision, and I moved on. Nothing wrong with that. This business, we talked about it in several episodes. You got a 3 to 6 month time period most of the time when you're working with somebody, because times change, people change, they get in, they get out, you have problems. It's just the way it is. Lo and behold, to my surprise, it was welcome back, welcome on board, open arms, completely shocked. Nothing had changed except that 10 years later, I'm still here doing the same stuff. You know, I'm still doing my thing. This person was still doing their thing. And it's like it's come full circle. Because a lot of times, people learn to appreciate and build a level of respect simply because someone is doing their thing and not deterring from it. Like Chris was saying, just get out there, you do your thing, you stick to your guns, regardless of whether the critics like it or this audience like it or you had a bad night or whatever. That in itself can be the originality that you need. Because here's the thing too, I've experienced it and I still have delusions of grandeur at times. Chris has experienced it. Any artist, musician, band member, singer, songwriter, guitar player, drummer, bass player, keyboard player, saxophone, so on and so forth. We've all experienced it. We all have used the term make it. We want to make it. What does that even mean? Even today, in 2024, going into 2025, not to date the show, but the truth is, that term, nobody even knows what it actually ever really meant. And it always was something that no one expected. And we are more familiar with sob stories about what's happened in that making it than anything. People have lost their shirt, lost their lives, lost their family, lost all their money, you name it, you know. So what does that mean? How do you know that you haven't made it already? Because you're always looking at some other definition of what making it is or supposed to be. Remember, television is just that. It's all make-believe land. None of it's real. None of it. It's designed for you to watch it, especially in our day, right? It was designed for you to watch it so you could watch the commercials and buy the product. That's kept the economy going. Totally get it. But when you're a kid, you're buying it. You're buying it 110%. Chris and I are from the MTV generation. That's what we believed everything was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it sticks with you. Oh, I got to make it. I want to make it. I want to make it. But in the process, again, remember what I said a little earlier about those unique circumstances or events that help push you forward so that they're never going to be the same no matter how closely you follow somebody's model. It's never going to be the same. Times change, right? Audiences change. Competition changes. How communication is transferred changes. How people listen to the information changes or ingest the information has changed. So sometimes just kind of looking inward, and I know this sounds a little hokey pokey, but get a level of gratitude, to me, can be the level of originality that could propel your career differently. Simply by removing the term, I want to make it, and you're not even sure what that is. How do you know you haven't already? Are you playing out?
Right.
Yes. Have you released albums? Yes. Is your songs, your music being played on radio stations or internet or being streamed somewhere? My stuff on Spotify. Check it, yes. Well, if that's what making it is, hey, brothers and sisters, you guys is making it.
Going back to what you were saying about, that lapse of time, you talking to that one person for the thing that you kind of was able to get today. I think also, too, I think that longevity has a lot to do with that, too, right? Like, because, you and I, let's be honest. By rights and everything that we've been through, especially in the past 3 years, just in the past 3 years, we probably should have thrown the towel in. But, it's that longevity. It's that you're still here. We're still here. We're still doing it. We're still banging away. We're still up and down the road. And that says a lot, too, about believing what you're doing, staying original, just pounding the pavement and keep on keeping on. When you have somebody that is still around like you and I think that something like today's episode, it really has a lot of water to it because we've been doing it. We've been doing it for so long and we're still doing it. We're still releasing new music. We're still out there doing shows, and literally the only thing that you and I can say that we're still here is because this is what we want. And we just kept our head down and just kept moving forward no matter what the roadblock was. And, that says a lot when it comes to being original and being local in 2025.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
Why we're still around? Maybe we're thick-headed. We haven't learned our lesson yet. We need to do it a little bit more. I don't know.
Well, that tracks.
Yeah, there's all that as well. But there's been times when, again, we've talked about it on the show. Last season was a heavy season for you and I. We have talked about considering, hey, maybe this is it. Maybe it's time to call it quits. I'll get involved in something else. I'll become that Disney bus driver. Maybe this looks like a good time to do so. It just happens. Oh, yeah, believe me. But there's been times when I've received horrible reviews. Basically, like maybe, go get another job or this isn't worth it. But, after a while, again, you look at it like, well, look, this is what I want to do. And if you tell yourself, well, listen, reviews, critics, whatever, it's subjective. And I know we recently just had an episode about being delusional, and I did say that most of us are delusional, especially if you've been at it for a long time. I still believe that. There's some delusion that goes on, and it's a little bit about chasing the dream. You got to give yourself enough of an inspiration to continue chasing the dream. That inspiration comes along by those experiences that you become grateful for. And you make the most out of it, and you string them together, and you find that they're leading you on the path. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to do missteps, you're not going to have a bad show, not going to write a good song, whatever. That's all part of the game, too. You're not going to catch every pass to you, right? You're not going to block every punch, and you're not going to land every punch. But you continue to do so. And like we talked about in other stuff, if that's the idea, then you decide when it's time to quit. And guess what? If you can make that decision when it's time for me to quit, then you have made it. Because a lot of people can't get out in whatever career they're in. They're working the rest of their lives, or they never put money away, or they never did this, or they never did that. They lose some of that control. So this is just me, and I'm kind of maybe looking at more on a philosophical level, because as Chris pointed out early on, there is no hard and fast rule to this. We can't say, do this and this will happen, because it doesn't exist, especially in this business. Because we've watched horrible bands get signed, get great shows, get hits. Bands that are well deserving of it don't even get recognition. They can't even get shows. So who knows? And there's all this different reasons. Could be one band has more money to put behind it. They knew somebody, they whatever. And the other band who may be really good doesn't have any of that. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The model, it's a good place to kind of start, to give yourself some perspective and maybe an idea of whatever, but it has to be tweaked for the situation, right? You just kind of swap out the product, but then it has to be tailored. Chris and I could do the same model, and I feel confident enough to say that if we did the same model, there would be a level of success for each one. I don't think that it would fall flat on its face, simply because I've repeated a model. I've used it with other things too. So that's the only reason I'm saying it. But Chris couldn't do the model exactly like me, and I couldn't do it exactly like him. There may be some overlap, but it has to be tailored specifically for them. It's a good starting point. Just hence why people buy cars and order certain things. I'm talking about brand new cars. People will order brand new cars and say, I want this and this and this. Somebody could order the same brand new car, but with 10 different things on it. Colors and this and that and the other thing. When you're buying off a used lot, you got to take it for whatever it's. That's usually my lot. That's kind of where I'm at. But do you see what I'm saying? So maybe to be original is to invest in yourself, believe in yourself, forget about the making it thing, and which to me could be a whole original concept. Not worrying about making it, and like as Chris pointed out, just do your thing. Keep releasing. Keep playing out. That doesn't mean you have to play out every single night. Doesn't mean that you have to release every single day, like some of these experts today say. Release a song a day, and at the end of the week, you have all these albums. Nobody wants to hear that much. And then we've talked about this in other seasons, other episodes. You got to create some other outlets so that you have a creative process and you have a resource that brings creativity back into you. You don't want to burn out, because I've been there. I've done that. It's no fun. And you lose interest and you're like, it doesn't matter anymore. Who cares? Then you have years of regret because you're just like, I gave up all this because I didn't care about it anymore, when all I could have done is take a couple weeks and just take a breather, or, go for a long walk, or, do something different, go to a movie. It's okay. It's okay. My career's not going to fall apart just because I did this.
Right.
There's some originality in that.
Yeah.
Listen, there is a phenomena called last man standing. The guy that's still standing there and he keeps swinging. He may not be the best. He may not be the fastest. He may not be the strongest. In my case, I'm not the tallest. But some of us are still doing what we can. And in time, people will see that. And the reason I think that we pointed out early in the show was like somebody like Ice-T, or the actress that plays in that same show, or other people. Not to make fun. I mean, it is kind of jesting. It makes for good content, of course, and it's all fun. But it demonstrates that if you stay to what you're doing, you gain respect simply by being there. And all of a sudden, people look at you completely differently.
Yep.
They go, you know what? They're just regular people doing what they can. They were given an opportunity, and they didn't download on it and make somebody angry. They took advantage of it. They were grateful for it, and they did the best that they could. That's what we need to do as artists. And I think, again, not to get too philosophical, but I think that's the way to stay original and local. And you take that in the box idea, because I never like the term out of the box. That means you never really got your box to work. You got to go look for something else. But if you got your box working, you can take that box and put it everywhere and anywhere you want. Because I've been doing that for the last 15 years. I have to tweak it. Sometimes it works 100%. Sometimes it only works 80%. Sometimes I only get 10% out of that box. But you know what? The box is still there and it's still working. I always add new tools to my box. You have to, because some tools wear out.
That's right. And then, with the industry changes, everything changes every day. You have to update yourself with the times.
That's all. That's all. No one's saying you got to change this completely. Now I got to do this, and I got to start wearing this on my head, and I'm not into capes. Didn't they say no capes in The Incredibles? you seen what capes did to superheroes.
That's right.
Listen, if capes get you to be original, maybe some bands with capes would be good. Like, we need a Lizzie Borden with capes, because I don't even think he does capes anymore.
No, he don't do capes. He does masks now. He don't do capes.
Yeah, he doesn't do capes. So, you see what I mean? Bring back the capes. You know what I mean? What's wrong with capes?
Nothing's wrong with capes.
You know what I mean?
No.
You know how many sheets I ruined as a kid making capes?
100%.
100%.
100%. Yep, me too.
You know,
me too.
Get yourself a cape and put a big O on it for original. How's that? What do you think, buddy? You got anything else you want to add?
No, man, not at all. I think we've said everything that needs to be said.
There you go. Stay you, stay original. That's the best you can do. If you like that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmickvoice.com. Step into the Cosmickverse and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmick Voice. If you have a question, a topic idea, or something you want us to address, just contact us through our Facebook page at The Cosmick Voice. You can listen to The Cosmick Voice at Spotify, Breaker, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, and at thecosmicview.com. Check us out on Facebook at The Cosmick Voice.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of The Cosmick Voice. And you can get in touch with us through thecosmickvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmick Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to The Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.